Snow fell quietly outside the small diner window, but inside, the silence at David's table felt heavier than the winter storm. The poor mechanic sat there in his worn blue work jacket, staring at the empty chair across from him. Just 30 minutes earlier, the woman he had nervously invited for a simple Christmas dinner had looked at his calloused hands, his grease-stained sleeves, and politely told him she wasn't interested in dating someone with such a difficult life. Then she left, her perfume fatting into the warm air of the diner while David remained frozen with embarrassment. For a single father who spent every day struggling to keep his tiny auto repair shop alive and raise his daughter alone, rejection felt painfully familiar. But tonight, on Christmas Eve, it hurt more than usual. Before we continue this emotional story, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel Grandma Dearie. If you believe that kindness and second chances can truly change someone's life. David had not planned for his life to become this lonely. 5 years earlier, his wife had passed away after a sudden illness, leaving him with a 6-year-old daughter and a garage that barely earned enough to survive. Every morning before sunrise, he opened the creaky metal doors of his repair shop, fixing broken engines with patience and skill, hoping each customer would help him pay the next bill. His daughter Lily was the only light in his difficult world. She loved Christmas more than anything, decorating their tiny apartment with handmade paper stars and humming carols while David worked late into the night. But this year had been especially hard. The garage had fewer customers, the rent had increased, and David quietly worried about how he would afford even a small Christmas gift for Lily. When a friend suggested he should try meeting someone new, someone who could bring warmth back into his life, David hesitantly agreed. The woman seemed kind at first when they spoke online, and she accepted his invitation for a modest dinner at the diner near his shop. Unfortunately, reality did not match her expectations. As David sat alone with his untouched plate, he felt the weight of humiliation pressing down on him. Around him, families laughed and exchanged gifts, couples held hands, and Christmas music played softly through the speakers. He tried to focus on finishing his meal, but the loneliness crept deeper into his chest. Then something unexpected happened. A little girl no older than 7 walked up to his table with a bright smile and a small wrapped box in her hands. She wore a red sweater, a thick winter coat, and a green Christmas hat decorated with tiny white snowflakes. Her long blonde hair peeked out from beneath the hat, and her cheeks were pink from the cold. Behind her stood a female police officer in uniform, watching gently from a few steps away. The girl carefully placed the gift on the table in front of David. Her innocent eyes sparkled with excitement as she looked at the tired mechanic. David felt confused but strangely moved. The little girl explained that her mother, the police officer, had told her earlier that Christmas was about helping people who looked lonely. When they walked into the diner, she noticed David sitting by himself while everyone else had someone beside them. To her, that simply felt wrong on Christmas Eve. The gift box was small and wrapped with bright green paper and a red ribbon. David slowly opened it, unsure what to expect. Inside was a handmade ornament shaped like a small car engine, carefully crafted with clay and painted silver. On the back were uneven letters written by a child's hand, "For the best mechanic." For a moment, David couldn't speak. The officer stepped closer, explaining with a soft smile that her daughter loved making Christmas ornaments and insisted on giving one to someone who looked like they needed a little happiness. She apologized if the gesture seemed strange, but the girl had been determined. Something inside David shifted at that moment. The rejection he had felt earlier began to fade, replaced by something warmer and deeper. He realized that sometimes kindness arrives in the most unexpected forms, from people who expect nothing in return. The little girl climbed into the chair across from him and began talking excitedly about cars, saying her mother's police vehicle sometimes made funny noises. David listened patiently, smiling for the first time that evening. The officer watched quietly, noticing how naturally he spoke with her daughter, how gentle and kind his presence felt. That simple moment turned into a long conversation. The officer learned about David's repair shop, his daughter Lily, and the difficult years he had faced raising her alone. David, in return, learned about the officer's life as a single mother balancing work and parenthood. As snow continued to fall outside, something rare and beautiful filled the small diner table: understanding. When David finally stood to leave, the little girl hugged him tightly and reminded him to hang the ornament on his Christmas tree. He promised he would. The officer smiled warmly and said she might bring her car to his garage if it ever needed repairs. But the truth was, they both knew this night had already repaired something far more important. Before we reach the ending, here's a special request. Comment the word kindness below if you believe small acts of kindness can completely change someone's day or even their life. Later that night, when David returned home and placed the ornament on the tiny Christmas tree beside Lily, he realized something powerful. The woman who rejected him had only seen his struggles, but a small child and her mother had seen his heart. Sometimes life closes one door so quietly that we barely notice the better one opening right beside it. And if this story touched your heart even a little, please take a moment to like, share, comment, and subscribe to Grandma Dearie. Your support helps spread stories of kindness, hope, and second chances to people who may need them most. Red.